Hi, it's me, Lil. I'm back again with more info for ya. Today you're gonna get a little bit of lights, camera, action. We're gonna go stage left with Lil. You'll get some lyrical Lil as I give you my thoughts on the new albums from two of pop's biggest superstars. And I'll even give you a little celebrity gossip from Lil's loose lips. Let's start with stage left. I'll tell you about my experiences, that's right, plural, with the current show at New York Theater Workshop called Saturday Church. Somehow I ended up seeing this show twice, paying for it twice, much to my chagrin. What happened was my friends at the team invited me to a show at the beginning of the month. And I was like, sure. And then my bestie Ray invited me to a show at the end of the month. And I was like, sure. It wasn't until I sat down for the first performance that I was like, oh, this is the same show that they both wanted me to see. It ended up being fine because I saw a bunch of other studies for the first performance, and the show was great, so I was like, I'll come back for more. Why not? Sure. For the purposes of this episode, I'll talk more about my second performance of the show than the first. Before I get into the show, I want to tell you my epic transit tale of trying to make it to the theater that night. So, as some of you know, I have the tendency, it's very rare though, but on occasion, I'm late. So this time, I knew there was a 7 p.m. curtain. I left the house at 6:10. Knew it was going to take me about 22 minutes to get there, so yes, plenty of time. I get down to the subway. I'm waiting for the B train. It says it's coming in 1 minute, but it lied. Because 7 minutes go by and the train does not show up. I text Ray. I'm like, do you know what's going on? And he's like, there's a signal break problem at 7th Avenue. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to take the 4 to Union Square and then take the 6 one stop down to Astor Place instead. At this point, it's like 6:35. So I get on the 4, I make it to Union Square, I transfer to take the 6 one stop, and I get on the first train that comes. And after a while, I start to wonder, why is it taking so long to get one stop, to go one stop? And then I realize that I got on the express train rather than the local. I tell Ray, just leave my ticket at the box office. Save yourself. I get back on the local train, going downtown. You know, there's all those stupid little stops on the 6 train going local. It's like 6:55. I can still make it. Get off the train, and I decide to run the last block to the theater, which is between 2nd and 3rd. If you know me, running is not my favorite thing. So I run, and somehow I run right past the theater, and I'm all of a sudden on 1st Avenue. What the hell? So then I have to trot back one more avenue. And at that point, I'm so close. I can still make it. But Ray texts me, it's starting. So I missed the beginning. That's fine, because I've seen the show before. So the show, once again called Saturday Church, is based on a movie of the same name that came out in 2017. It stars some of our favorite trans actors from the seminal TV show Pose. But now they've taken it and made it into a musical with music by Sia, everybody's favorite faceless pop star. It's about a young queer boy who's caught between two worlds. The world of his traditional church that he goes to with his aunt. He wants to be in the choir, but his aunt thinks he's too flamboyant. And his newfound family that he discovers at a place called Saturday Church, where queer kids can go to connect, get some food if they need it, get some clothes if they need it, and just be themselves. The main character, Ulysses, is played by Bryson Battle, who was a contestant on The Voice. And let me tell ya, he's got the voice. Amazingly powerful, a falsetto like no other. He's a little green when it comes to the acting side, so you could tell this was definitely one of his debuts. But the second performance, he was stronger and showed more growth than the first time I saw him. There's great supporting characters like B. Noel Thomas, who plays his second mother at Saturday Church, Akina Kalukango, who plays his Aunt Rose, Crystalline Lloyd, who plays his mom, Amara, and most spectacularly of all, J. Harrison Gee, who plays the dual roles of Black Jesus and Pastor Lewis. Jay, you might recall, is the first non-binary person to win a Tony for their performance in Some Like It Hot, which was great. Even Mommy liked it. There's a lot of really strong performances in this show and amazing voices, but I have to say that I actually liked the understudies that I saw the first time better than the main cast. I saw the understudy for Ebony, played by Jaquay Gibbs, and the understudy for Aunt Rose, played by Yo-Yo Joy. Jaquay had a softness and a motherly nature to her that B. Noel Thomas didn't quite have. They're both great singers, but Jaquay also seemed more comfortable on stage and was more believable in this role. The Aunt Roses were both equal in terms of vocal ability, but the understudy, I think, understood the part better and gave it more layers. The only thing that was odd was that while Ebony had the exact same costumes both times, for some reason Aunt Rose had different costumes than the first time I saw it, so that was weird. The costumes are great, the choreography is on point, and the music from Sia is surprisingly good. I guess I shouldn't be so surprised because she's a really great songwriter, but who knew she could also write gospel-tinged, electric show tunes centered around the Black church. It's not a jukebox musical, and there's only one previously recorded Sia song in the show, but it fits in beautifully. I could see this making a transfer to Broadway. I mean, if A Strange Loop can do it, this show can too. It's a lot more joyful, less dark than A Strange Loop. It's been extended a couple of times, but it must close October 24th. So see it now at New York Theater Workshop, or wait and pay Broadway prices when it gets the Great White Way. This show gets a Lil's letter grade of an A-. So I also have to mention that I had a very interesting experience in the theater watching this show the second time, something I've never seen before. There was a gentleman in the row ahead of me who had a shakire, you know, that percussion instrument that has beads inside it and like a netting around it. So every time a number would end and everybody else was clapping, this man, instead of clapping, would shake his shakire. I was like, okay, that's interesting. That's different. Never seen that before. And then at intermission, same said gentleman comes to me and offers me banana pudding that he had in an insulated bag with some ice packs in it. He was very nice, but the banana pudding looked kind of questionable. And so I politely declined and told him I'm watching my sweets. Now let's talk lights, camera, action. I went to see Anemone, which features the return of Daniel Day-Lewis, one of the greatest actors of all time, who 8 years ago decided he was going to retire. I never understand it when artists retire, but he came back, thank God, for this new movie, which he co-wrote with his son Ronan, who also directed the movie. It's about a pair of brothers, Daniel Day-Lewis and Sean Bean, who are estranged from one another And Daniel Day-Lewis's character has had several traumas in his life, one in his childhood and one when he was a soldier in the army. And he becomes estranged from his wife and his son as well. I have to say, the film is beautifully shot. Ronan really knows how to capture an evocative image on the screen. Apparently, he has a fine arts background, which definitely shows in the way that he uses color and light and shadow in this film. It was really quite beautiful, and almost something you can watch on mute. But you can still tell he's a little bit of novice to filmmaking because once he finds a shot that he likes, he kind of uses it over and over again, and not in an effective way to move the plot forward. The script and the story are kind of tepid, despite some random moments of surrealism. We've kind of been here before, but as always, it's worth it just to see Daniel Day-Lewis on screen. He's one of those actors who you cannot take your eyes off of. You don't want to blink because you don't want to miss a second of what he might do next. It's very visceral and raw, and he's so talented. I hope, if nothing else, his son keeps making movies so we can keep seeing Daniel Day-Lewis. So Daniel's performance gets a Lil's letter grade of an A, but the movie itself gets a Lil's letter grade of a C. Now it's time for Lyrical Lil, as I give you my thoughts on the new albums we just received from two of the biggest singer-songwriters of all time. One's a little better than One's a little better at singing, and the other is a little better at songwriting, but they're both superstars in their own right. Let's start with Mariah Carey's Here for It All, which feels like the kind of album she always wanted to make if she hadn't been under the thumb of her ex-husband, Tommy Mottola. It gives us a little bit of smooth R&B baby-making music, some gospel songs. It's quite enjoyable. But is it her best album? No. The best tracks on this album are her collaborations with Anderson .Paak, called Play the Song, and Sugar Sweet featuring Kehlani. I also really love I Won't Allow It. And on Watch What Happens Live, she said that Here for It All is one of her most favorite ballads that she's ever recorded. Interesting. Andy often has a segment called Watch What Happens 5, where they count down the top 5 whatever. So this time he had his staff count down their favorite Mariah songs, which were, starting with number 5, All I Want for Christmas, and then Heartbreaker, then Fantasy, then We Belong Together, and the number 1 was Always Be My Baby. All amazing songs. But if you got a text from me over the summer asking you what your top 5 Mariah songs are, you know that I also believe Breakdown is one of her best songs of all time. It totally changed the game. Some people were like, Breakdown? No, what is that? That's like a B-side song. But no, it's one of her greatest triumphs. Now moving on to Taylor Swift and her new album, The Life of a Showgirl. I was really hyped for this album because she said it was going to be a return to her pop style. You know, we fell in love with Taylor as a country artist, and when she moved to pop, we are still here for it. But then, during the pandemic, it took a more somber, almost depressing, sleepy turn with the Evermore, Folklore, and the most recent before this one, Tortured Poets Department. But this time she's back working with the dream team of producers, Max Martin and Shellback. Max, who worked on my favorite Taylor album, which is 1989. He is a guaranteed hitmaker. He has 27 Billboard 100 number 1 singles, second only to Paul McCartney. He's worked with everybody from Britney to the Backstreet Boys to Celine Dion. So I was so pleased that he was back collaborating with Taylor. And this album is really good. All the songs are bops. There's really no skips. The wordplay is still as clever as ever, but I feel like we're regressing a little bit in terms of subject matter. Like, do we really need a song about Travis Kelce's penis? I don't think so. But it's still fun. Favorite tracks on the album are Ruin the Friendship, Wishlist, Wood, and Life of a Showgirl, where she collaborates with Sabrina Carpenter, and that's her only collaboration on the. I'm really pleased to have Pop Taylor back, and I'm giving this a Lil's letter grade of a B plus. Now some celeb gossip from Lil's Loose Lips. I was very disappointed to hear about the breakup of Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban, who've been together for almost 20 years, which in Hollywood is like a century. So, I'm sorry it didn't work out. You know, Nicole loves her short kings, but as she said when she divorced Tom Cruise, she can go back to wearing heels again. Come back next time where I'll tell you about my trip to my favorite place on earth besides Brooklyn, my happy place, New Orleans, Louisiana. And I'll tell you about my viewing of Tron Ares. Bye.